SS001 and SS002, the very first wildfires in the N.W.T. this season. They started over the weekend just north of Fort Smith. And while we can't see the smoke from the community, they are burning, spotted with infrared scans. And fire crews aren't wasting any time. They're moving fast to put these fires out.
It's roughly on the edges of fires that we saw burn last year. So, it's a typical kind of forest you'd see around the Fort Smith area, mixture of evergreen forest and deciduous trees and the like. But again, this is happening. The burning is really happening in the soil. Largely, so our focus is on exposing that heat and dousing the flames, or dousing that heat to put out those smoldering fires there.
Last year's fire season also started with holdover fires in Fort Smith, and that's making residents nervous.
Well, the one across the river kind of concerns me. It's not that far away from my beautiful cabin out there. So I'm hoping that they're going to action that right away before my cabin gets in any kind of danger. So that's what I'm worried about. I lost one cabin in the ranch last year, but my main cabin I would like to keep for a little while.
As long as they're kept under control, and hopefully you don't have to evacuate again, but as long as they keep them under control, I guess fire is always there every year, right? So, but hopefully it's not like last year, so.
A little bit stressed. Yeah, because last year we were out for a very long time and it was very stressful and very expensive. I'm thinking of the animals of Fort Smith too, because I'm the president of the animal shelter, and I really would hope that people would be more mindful of their animals this year, because last year was very difficult. And some animals had to be left behind, and it was very stressful for some of the people that were looking after them, going home. The firefighters were going from home to home, feeding animals, and it was really hard on everybody.
Westwick says both fires are being managed and are under 2 hectares in size. He says there's currently no danger to the community, cabins, or other infrastructure. Carla Ulrich, CBC News, Fort Smith.
We heard a bit from Mike Westwick in Carla's story there. He was talking about the 2 fires burning in the South Slave region. He's here now live in studio to talk about the fire season more broadly. And Mike, I just want to touch on something I just heard in Carla's pack, which was the firefighters going around to feed people's pets last year. I guess your crews do more than just fight these fires.
Yeah, certainly we're there to help out, and where there's an opportunity to do things to help out a community in crisis, we do take that opportunity too as well. We looked after some animals in Béchacon as well. I was there personally, and we do things to help people out.
I'm sure that those people who had the advantage of having you there are very appreciative. Let's start with these holdover fires, because the ones near Fort Smith were found, I understand, when your crews were doing infrared scanning. What else did they find?
Really, they just found those hot spots that we're now addressing as fires there. That was the key finding. We use the infrared scanning, we use patrols, and we're taking action on those fires. 2 crews and a helicopter are working to expose that heat and really take care of those fires quickly.
Did you see holdover fires anywhere else? Can we expect more of these to pop up?
We don't have any new findings as yet. North Slave region, there was some scanning that was done that actually didn't show any on some of those, but we're going to be looking to follow up on those as well. They're pretty good at hiding sometimes, and we want to make sure that we're in a good position and on the front foot as we get going on the season. So we continue to search for those targets, and we'll certainly update people if we find them.
And they burn really deep underground. How do you action those fires? Are you just throwing water on them, or what are you doing?
Well, I mean, nature just already threw a bunch of water at them between the snow and the melt, right? And they're still there. So what you got to do is get in there. You got to dig it out using simple tools, shovels and Pulaskis, so that axe and the pick together, things like that. You can use any number of tools to expose that heat, and then douse it with water once you've actually exposed that, because obviously nature wasn't able to snuff that out, so you got to take another step after that.
So as we mentioned, fire season officially starts May 1st. Mm-hmm. What are you expecting this fire season to be like?
Certainly our outlook points towards some challenging weather conditions. We didn't see enough snowpack and precipitation to alleviate the drought completely, and the particularly in the south of the territory and into the North Slave as well. A little bit more precipitation and snowpack in the Satu and Beaufort Delta areas, which is always good. We like to see moisture in the environment to kind of tamp down that activity. But the headline story is it's drying out really fast out there. Particularly in the south of the territory, and we are preparing for what could potentially be another season with some significant fire activity. And we've started our people and our aircraft earlier, as you can see with this work being done out there, to be ready to respond to that.
Is there an area of the territory that you're more concerned about compared to others?
I think that the south of the territory, certainly the South Slave, the Decho, certainly that's where we're seeing the most dryness, the driest conditions. Drier conditions mean more likelihood of fire for sure, but it really does stretch up throughout the territory. Even though we saw some more snowpack and precipitation in the Satu and the Beaufort Delta, it's eventually going to dry out. We're expecting through May and through June to be seeing not a whole lot of precipitation based on our outlooks right now. Obviously those things shift and evolve all the time, but that's kind of point in time where we're at right now. So the message to people is it's never too late to start preparing yourself throughout the season, and we need everybody's help in preventing adding those person-caused fires to that landscape as we move forward.
And we were speaking a little bit earlier today about those person-caused fires and the fire danger. We're not even at May yet, and we're seeing high to extreme fire danger in the Decho and the South Slave region. That, to me, that feels early, but I may have a wrong perception of these things. Is it early to be seeing fire danger that high this early? It's
not unheard of, but it certainly is a little bit earlier than we'd expect that to be happening. Partially driven by the quick melt. We're not seeing a whole lot of snow left on the ground in these regions, and certainly seeing that level of fire danger means that fires are easier to start and more likely to spread if they do. So people doing everything they can to prevent those fires from getting on the landscape is so important as we move through May.
So just because it's cool doesn't mean it's not dangerous out there for fires.
That's right. Even if it's a little bit chilly, even if you see ice on the water still. We had ice on the water when we were starting to battle that first fire in the Cathlo-Deche First Nation Reserve in May, which those kinds of things you shouldn't be sinking into complacency just because it's a little chilly outside, just because there's still some ice on the water. If it's dry out there, it'll support fire. And May is usually our biggest month for person-caused fire before we really get into a more active lightning regime, usually later in May and into June. So a real challenge that I want to pass on to people is to make May a no person-caused fire month. That's going to help us be on the front foot in terms of preserving resources to respond to those natural fires that we really can't control, and just really help communities. It's you doing your part to manage wildfire in our territory and the risk to the people you care about.
So just quickly before we let you go, when we talk about person-caused fires, I'm sure some people picture, you've got a bonfire in your backyard and that takes over. What is the most common person-caused fire that we see in the territory?
Far and away, it's abandoned campfires. That's one of the key recreational activities that people do in the Northwest Territories, of course. It's important to all of our lives. But left unattended, they can become a big problem. The next most common is burning brush in backyards and things like that. People doing a good thing and burning off some debris that they might have been cleaning up, but maybe doing so in conditions that might have been too windy, might have been too extreme out there. So we encourage people to never leave their campfires unattended. That's number one. Number two, if you're going to be burning in your yard, you got to get a burn permit, and that might be from your community, or it might be from, if you're burning outside of community boundaries, it might be from your local environment and climate change office. Those permits are important not just as a piece of red tape, but because they give you mitigation considerations that you need to follow to make your burn a safe burn. So plan ahead and be aware that if you got a windy day, those embers coming off your burn pile could get into the forest and cause a real problem.
All right, no person-caused fire May.
That's right.
I accept your challenge, Mike.
Thank you, and I hope everyone else does too. Tell your friends, tell your parents, tell your kids, everybody.
All right, well, thanks so much for joining us today. I do appreciate it.
Thank you.
That's Mike Westwick, who is a fire mitigation and prevention manager with the government of the Northwest Territories. Likely not the last time we will see him on the show in this fire season.